Hey everybody, welcome to Coffee Chat with Camille. I am your hostess, Camille. We have a pretty provocative title, right? Kamala Harris. Is she a trailblazer or is she a troublemaker? So I'm just going to kind of briefly discuss her background and also her positives and then also things that are weak, somewhat weak in her record or criticisms of the VP who is now running for to be the first woman of color president of the United States of America. Now, as I say that part, woman president of the United States of America of color, that is just awesomeness, right? But there are strong criticisms so far, but not so much electorally. Okay, so just remember that part, folks. Okay. So all they have to do in these next 3 months or so is get her popularity up, 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 right? And kind of, bring in a VP that's popping, and perhaps we have something to go on, and the both of them work together to get things done for the disenfranchised community, which number one would be the FBA or African American community. Okay. And so I think that if we choose to give her our vote, that her and her VP should work very hard on getting certain protections in place for the FBA community for their sacrifice to build this country and also to continue to help develop it overall. All right. But I did want to put on a little slideshow for you because sometimes you're like your host is talking and she doesn't or he doesn't have anything for you to kind of look at, and so then it gets a little boring. So my goal was to hopefully get this moving for you. My That's our former president. We can see her challenger would be former President Donald Trump. And we must say that Kamala is gorgeous and she never takes a bad photo, as far as I'm concerned. She's really pretty. So we'd have, someone a little bit different and or a lot different than um, Hillary Clinton, right? And who else? The one who ran for VP, what's her name? Chisholm, right? Shirley Chisholm. She was powerful. And if you guys have a chance, as a matter of fact, you know what? I will actually give her a show about Shirley Chisholm because that woman was dynamic. And I'm not taking anything away from Hillary Clinton because if you look at her on paper, she's awesome, right? All of these women are fascinating women that are running for the highest office in the highest office in our country, right? And I can imagine that that could not possibly be easy, right? And you have to have a certain brain and more importantly, charisma and or temperament, right? Donald Trump doesn't have the best temperament, but he clearly appeals to men, right? He's a man's man. Be real here. He may be the R word. He may be all kind of stuff for his donors, but bottom line is he is, in fact, a man's man. Okay, so welcome to this episode of about trailblazers and troublemakers. This podcast, or my podcast rather, where we're just going to explore the lives and careers of influential figures in politics and society. As I stated earlier, I'm your host, Camille, and today we are taking a closer look at Kamala Harris, the first female to be the first woman of color to be elected vice president. Let's start there, okay? Of the United States of America. Is she really groundbreaking though? A trailblazer? Of course she is. Or is she a controversial troublemaker? So I need you all to dive into this with me and explore her career achievements and controversies that have shaped her public image. All right? So, for starters, Kamala Harris has broke new ground by becoming the first female and first woman of color to serve as district attorney of San Francisco. So she's been very diligent and career driven and also focused, right? And so she is the first woman of color to serve as the was the first woman of color to serve as the district attorney of San Francisco, and then later as Attorney General of California. Okay, so she's a first and a first and a first. During her time as DA, she launched the Back on Track program, aimed at helping first time drug offenders reintegrate into society and avoid recidivism. As Attorney General, she secured a $20 billion settlement for California homeowners affected by the foreclosure crisis and took significant steps towards criminal justice reform. Okay, so hold on one moment, folks. Let me do this. Yeah, okay, cool. Let me go back to where I was. You know what? I didn't put on my banners. Let me do that real quick. There we go. Excuse me. And let me get back to my show notes. Excuse me. Despite these achievements, Harris's career has not been without controversy. As district attorney and attorney general, she faced criticism for her handling of criminal justice issues. Critics argue that she was too conservative on crime, defending policies that contributed to mass incarceration and was not doing enough to address racial disparities in the system. Okay, so that alone is massive. But remember, she is a prosecutor. She has been a prosecutor, a district attorney. Okay, that's the path she chose to take. Another point of contention was her approach to school truancy. As the Attorney General, she pushed for prosecuting parents of chronically absent students, which many viewed as a punitive or punishment measure rather than a solution to underlying issues like poverty and systemic inequality, right? So, her record as a U.S. Senator, we're going to go into that now. So, that was her before as District Attorney and Attorney General in California. Where I'm in California, I'm from California, and we're pretty much aware of um, VP Kamala Harris, aware of her stance on criminal justice. But I'm not sure the rest of the country knows or even cares. Excuse me. One moment, guys. Sorry. Um, One of my animals is having a little issue. So one moment. Okay, sorry about that, folks. I'm back. So, let me see. Where am I? All right, let me do something. Oh, also, guys, can you please like and subscribe? Subscribe and like when you watch this episode of Coffee Chat with Camille about Kamala Harris. I really appreciate it. Mm, excuse me. I lost some months because I had received a strike that was unwarranted by YouTube. So I had to go back and forth with them to get back up here. All right, so those were her achievements, excuse me, as district attorney. And then let's start with another achievement of hers, right? She broke new ground. Yes, I already discussed that. Okay. She broke big old grounds with um, being district attorney of San Francisco because she was a woman of color. And later, she was the first woman of color to be attorney general of California. All right. And then, so as we continue to watch her career unfold, excuse me, it's clear that Kamala Harris's impact on American politics is significant and multifaceted, right? Yeah, no, that's where I was. Okay, sorry guys, I'm trying to follow my notes. All right, so back to my notes. As Attorney General, she had pushed for prosecuting parents of chronically absent students. Okay, I read that before. And so let's go on to the next one. Her record as a U.S. Senator also sparked debate. Harris's shifting stance on Medicare for all during her presidential campaign raised questions about her consistency and commitment to progressive values. While she initially supported the plan, she later modified her position, leading some leading some to accuse her of political opportunism. Okay? Now, you're going to hear a lot about her political opportunism. I think quite a few folks, podcasters, have actually posted about that. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because I don't know, it just doesn't seem right for me. Additionally, let me see here. Okay, additionally, Harris's handling of immigration issues as vice president has faced scrutiny. Her role in addressing the U.S. Mexico border crisis and efforts to tackle the root causes of migration have been met with mixed reactions, with critics arguing that her actions have not lived up to expectations. Well, I'm going to tell you what I recall. She went down to Mexico. She sat down there with their leaders at a table, and she rolled her neck, I believe, just a little bit, and she said, "Don't come here." That's what I recall. And then it was like we didn't really see her after that. So I just felt like her plain English is exactly what we probably need because it's so far diplomacy is going to take you in this day and age with Trump running around doing what he does, right? So I thought it was I thought it was warranted at the time, but all of a sudden she was snatched, and that was that. Additionally, oh, so sorry. So, is Kamala Harris really a trailblazer or is she a troublemaker? Her career showcases a mix of groundbreaking achievements and controversial decisions. Well, I would like to go a little bit more into that. Um, let's talk about her trailblazing or I want to talk just a little bit, give you guys a summary of her record. So, she was the first female DA and district attorney of San Francisco from 2004 to 2011. She was the first female district attorney. Harris was the first woman, the first African American woman and the first South Asian American to serve as district attorney of SF San Francisco. Her focus on crime prevention, she established a program that was called Back on Track, which provided a first time drug offenders with an opportunity to earn a high school diploma and find employment. Next was conviction rate. During her tenure, the felony conviction rate in San Francisco increased significantly. Okay. Number two, Attorney General of California from 2011 until 2017. She was the first woman and first person of color. She was the first woman and the first person of color to hold the office. Isn't that sad when they're saying that like way down here at this in this time? I mean, I'm so happy for her accomplishments, but at the same time, you have to reflect and wonder why everything is a first all the time when it comes to women of color and men of color, right? But I'm very, very happy for her, right? Because imagine if she couldn't be attorney general because somebody said, "You're you're a woman of color, go home." You know, she was the first woman and the first person of color to hold the office. Mortgage settlement. Harris played a crucial role in securing a $20 billion, settlement for California homeowners hit by the foreclosure crisis. I think that was in 2008, right? excuse me. Um, Criminal justice reform. She implemented several reforms, including efforts to reduce recidivism and to address racial biases in the criminal justice system. Okay. Environmental protection. Harris took strong stances on environmental protection, including suing major oil companies for environmental violations. Okay. So that's good to sue, but did she win? I don't know. Okay. So I'm left to assume yes she did, but I don't know, and I don't know what who the oil companies are, or anything. So if any of you all want to do more research on anything about her record and bring it to my attention, I would be more than happy to go back and add it as an addition to what I'm putting out here to you because these are just synopsises, like shortened versions of what she has done record wise. Okay. Okay, now for U.S. Senator from California, 2017 to 2021. Committees. She served on the Senate Judiciary Committee, Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, Select Committee on Intelligence, and the Committee on Budget. Do you guys remember when she was a senator and she used to go up against Jeff Sessions? Oh, that was excellent stuff right there. That was some good reality TV. I mean, for political buffs, right? If you're like a political person, and just those snippet moments were hilarious. Moving on, legislation. Harris co-sponsored legislation on a wide range of issues, including healthcare, immigration, criminal justice reform, and climate change. You guys know that but if you read almost every congressperson, almost every senator, I don't care what side, you always going to say that they were on criminal justice reform, and the criminal justice system has not changed. That's what I find incredible, right? Within 20 years, especially here in California, health immigration has not changed. I love how they throw that up, but they should tell you specifically, or at least we should know specifically, what part did you play in any of this, right? Healthcare, immigration, criminal justice reform, and climate change. Did you make positive? Did you implement positive things for the people, or negative things for the United States citizens? And I don't mean sworn in. I mean those of us that have been here for a very long time. Integrations, inter, inter, interrogation. I apologize. Interrogation skills. I was saying some other word. She gained national attention for her sharp questioning of Trump, the Trump administration officials during Senate hearings. That's true. She was always real sharp, very direct, stern, boom. Okay. Civil rights advocacy. Harris was a strong advocate. They said was, but Harris was a strong advocate for civil rights, pushing for police reform and voting rights protections. Well, that must be really tough being a DA and a prosecutor, and then on civil rights, you're talking about police reform and stuff. I mean, come on. Anyway, I don't know. Some stuff, some things that are credited to a lot of our congressional leaders, um, sadly, being here for a minute in the U.S., it's very hard to see how what they've done has been impactful to us as a people, right? So that's some of the toughness, like like we know how the 1994 crime bill affected not just the African American community, because in truth, yes, them, because it was a reason like, oh, you have some drugs on you, and we throw you in jail, you know. Let's do it for about 5 years, even though you've had no priors. Let's just throw you on in, right? Or oh, your complexion isn't right. Let me throw you on in. You must got something on you. You must be doing something wrong. That's if you get in those type of situations, right? And so I don't know. That was very impactful because a lot of young people lost their parents during the crack epidemic. Okay, because a lot of people of color jumped on crack and jumped on drugs. Sadly, and I'm not saying that as if it's funny. It was just a matter of fact, and we're also selling them, right? But it's not like no other ethnicity was doing the same. That's the piece, right? So we have to think about criminal justice reform like that we should be soft on people that are addicts, right? This is just my take on it real quick. I'm just gonna pop my quick opinion and then go back to my notes because I don't like to talk all day um, about these particular topics because a lot of this should not be a problem still in 2024. Like it's embarrassing that a lot of our social problems have not been nipped in the bud. And it's like we're supposed to be a first world country, but we're a first world country with third world problems just because we rely on government and our government officials don't seem to prioritize making the everyday person's life easier, right? So that's the biggest problem, and that's a promise that this new president and all presidents moving forward that always want to run out and racialize who they want to vote for them, right? Oh, let's have the black vote. Y'all don't never talk about the white vote. There's more white people in America than there are African Americans. So now there's more Asians and Hispanics, right? So why don't you ask all of them to help out with your voting, right? With your voting matters and your electoral votes and all that mess, right? It's not really mess. It's just so much to be a president, right? And I'm just talking about systematically. It's just the way it goes. You got to follow all these rules, right? So at any rate, um, Kamala, there are criticism, but it's mostly about criminal justice. And also, let me do this real quick. I'm sorry. Let me go back to uh, here. I want to talk a little bit more about Kamala's. Okay, great. These are all the things she did. Attorney General. Okay, back to where I was. So sorry. I went off my notes. Okay, she served on the Senate Judiciary Committee, as I said. Legislation. Harris co-sponsored legislation on a wide range of issues, including healthcare, immigration, criminal justice, and climate change. Now, I thought she did an anti-lynching. You guys, I could stand to be corrected, but I thought that she passed an anti-lynching bill. You would have thought they would have had that in place a long time ago, right? So somebody could look into that for me and hit me back at Coffee Chat with Camille at coffeechatwithcamille.com. Also, so sorry, please like and subscribe and like, because I really love you guys. I really love support and need your support, of course. And I enjoy putting together and bringing to you good content, right? And maybe something you could think about, things you could think about or you didn't really know about, right? So, um, yeah, the anti-lynching bill. I'm pretty sure she did that one. Legislation, interrogation skills, and then civil rights. All right. So throughout her career, Harris has been known for her strong stance on progressive issues and her ability to navigate complex legal and political landscapes. Her tenure has been marked by both significant achievements and controversies, as I mentioned, which have shaped her reputation as a trailblazer in American politics. All right, so let's go back to the criminal justice record. Okay. Um, there's one other criminal justice record, one that was controversial. Okay. Non-disclosure of police misconduct. Harris has been criticized for her office's failure to disclose evidence of police misconduct. In some cases, her office defended convictions even when evidence suggested the defendants might have been wrongfully convicted. Okay? So, on her prosecutor record during her time as District Attorney of San Francisco and Attorney General of California, Harris faced criticism for her handling of criminal justice issues. Now, which ones again? Critics argue that she did not do enough to address racial disparities in sentencing and mass incarceration. Her office's decisions, such as defending California's death penalty, have been controversial. Okay, now we have to think that's pretty big. All right, that's pretty big, especially since a lot of us are still wondering what happened to the George Floyd Justice Act. What happened to that? Well, we have to see, is she going to be able to pass, or would she be willing to stroke her pen as president and again get some things in place, not just for the Asian community, but also for the most the community that was way before them, the African American. I'm tired of the African American stuff. I'll just call them melanated folks or FBAs. They deserve priority. By some, is some president going to be okay with just saying, "Hey, this is the right thing to do. This is the right thing to do," and let's see how this legislation works. Maybe she can't do it way up there, but maybe they can do it on some other federal level, right? Or do it on a state level. So if somebody knows you can go to some state and you can be safe in spite of what you look like, think about that, right? Something to think about. Moving on. Her healthcare stance, Medicare for all. Harris faced criticism for her shifting stance on Medicare for all during her 2020 Democratic presidential primaries. Do you guys remember her up on stage? You remember? Yeah, she's very pretty, like I said, but boy, when she she goes in, and I remember her going in on Biden. It just wasn't a good look at the time. It wasn't a good look, and I was really surprised she was his VP pick after that. But sometimes the optics is more important than anything else, right? Because the Democrats, I get it when they say progressive. For me, I think they want to move things forward to show that U.S. is not the big R word, and that the people here that are majority are not the big R word. And so, you just they're always trying to make it look like we're one way, but looks and being are two different things. And so, what I'm hoping for from some president, okay, to just set the as the leader of the free world, uh, with the most jails, but as the leader of the free world, really should consider putting in legislation that protects the people that are harmed unlawfully the most and lawfully, right? Moving on. Okay, at the Senate confirmation hearings, when questioning of nominees, while her aggressive questioning on Trump administration officials during Senate hearings was praised by some, others view her approach as overly confrontational and politically motivated. How about that? What do you guys think about that? Aggressive. You see how they love to use that word on women of color and men of color, aggressive. They never once called Trump aggressive. Okay? I'm just saying. And Trump, he is aggressive. He's quite aggressive. And that's part of his showmanship, right? So I thought that she's just showing who she is, that she has strength, right? And I think that was a good thing. And she was talking to people that have been violating the people that have been violating us even on a social level, right? So, anyway, moving on. Tough on crime image, law and order stance. Harris's strong law and order stance, including her defense of controversial criminal policies, has been seen as contradictory to progressive values, especially among activists who advocate for criminal justice reform. That's huge, guys. That's huge. But nevertheless, that's Harris, right? Personal history and campaign attacks. Controversial past. Harris's past relationships and personal history, including her relationship with former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown, had been scrutinized by critics. Some argue that her rise in politics was facilitated by connections rather than solely by merit. Does that sound familiar? Yes, like every woman in powerful positions so far. Okay, not new. All right. I'm not sure. You guys can judge. Is that controversial that she may have been having a relationship with Willie Brown? Okay. Immigration policy, border and immigration issues as vice president. We're back to that. Her immigration stance. Harris has faced scrutiny over her handling of her immigration issues, as I mentioned earlier, but is particularly related to the situation at the U.S. Mexico border and her role in addressing root causes of migration. Critics argue, critics plural, argue that her efforts have been insufficient in resolving the crisis. Okay? And then political consistency, perceived as a flip flopping. Okay, she's flipping flopping. Harris has been accused of flip flopping on various issues, from her positions on criminal justice reform to healthcare. Um, they forgot to include that, sadly, racial too. There's been a little racial flip flopping going on, but it must be tough because she's a little bit of everything. So, I don't know. Our country is real funny about all that, and especially the black community. Or the FBA community, they're very particular about you being pro black. So, if you have a little bit in you, they want you to abide by the white man's rules on that one and make sure that you're pro black, okay, in spite of what you look like. This perceived inconsistency has led some to question her reliability and authenticity as a leader. All right, so let's summarize, folks. Kamala Harris's career has been marked by significant achievements as well as controversies. Some of the criticisms against her stem from her roles as prosecutor and being an attorney general, where her decisions have been seen by some as contrary to progressive values. Additionally, her shifting stances on key issues and handling of immigration policies have contributed to mixed perceptions. Despite these controversies, she remains a prominent and influential figure in American politics for the immigrant community. That's what I have to add on. Okay? For the immigrant community. Now, you guys, we have to be realistic about two things that have happened in law that are huge. Always remember that the president and vice president, especially the president, is a agent of law, right? And one of the things that this president, last one, Biden, said was, "We are a nation of immigrants." Then all of a sudden, we saw a flux of a whole bunch of folks from down south coming to our country. Is that not right? Yes. Okay, so let's start there. And then we also have a Supreme Court that says that we are in post racial America. That was one of the grounds for which they got rid of affirmative action, right? We're post racial and we're immigrant now. So a lot of FBAs and a lot of white folks need to get on board with the fact that whether you want it or not, or like it or not, immigrants are going to come first or be embraced. Okay, that's actually, I don't want to say come first. Like, they're going to be embraced and taken care of. Okay, Americans will be embraced. Okay, but not in the same way as it once was. All right, the clock has been ticking, folks. Clock is ticking. So, as it stands for reparations, what I do know, and I'm not for certain what the question was that she was asked. So, what I heard allegedly is that she said that she wasn't going to just be sitting here saying she's going to do things just for quote unquote black folks, allegedly. Okay, so take it how you want, look it up. She did say that. Um, it's alleged, but you can go on YouTube and check that quote in that interview out. And there's a lot that Kamala has said that is interesting, but it's okay. I'm all about, are you going to be able to do the work and not need to always be in the camera 24/7? Like, there's nothing worse than politicians acting like they're celebrities. This is that line is being crossed in all kind of ways. George Clooney is being blamed in part for the fact that Biden was pushed out because he went to consult, allegedly, went to consult with President Obama um, about letting everybody know, all donors and everybody else, that we needed a new nominee. Okay? That's why in Biden's very first letter that he sent, and a lot of people a lot of podcasters have been pointing this out. His first letter, he did not endorse Kamala. It's his second letter that he released today where he endorsed her. Because that's my understanding. And if I could pull it up for you, I would, but I'm tired of talking, to be honest with you. So I need to go ahead and say goodbye. But I want to thank you so much for listening. Even if you're not listening now, no worries. Listen at your leisure. My podcast will be here. And tell me what you think. Okay? I'm gonna give Kamala a chance, I think. I just want to see what the nation is gonna do, right? Is she gonna excite only a certain demographic of voters, or is she gonna excite all of us? Is she gonna be a unifying leader, or is she gonna be a divisive leader? Because you don't have to talk like Trump to be divisive. It could just be your policies that are divisive, right? We've seen that time and time again. Real nice people go in and seem real cool and go in and pull a Clinton on us, right? So charisma and good looks and great smiles and all that is magnificent on the outside, but it's always about what are you doing in the Oval Office, right? What are you doing in your offices? What are the people behind you who are giving you all the money to run? What kind of people are those? Are they for the people or for increasing their income and protecting their money? For me personally, if I can just say this because I thought on it, learn to do for all of us, like for the rich, of course, and for the poor, and for the in between, because the in between and the poor are feeling some kind of way. So just try to do it for everybody, Kamala, right? Try to do it for everybody. But you know, I think you're magnificent. I think Kamala is magnificent when you look at all that she has done as a woman of color, right? She's awesome. Yeah, I don't really like saying woman of color, just as a woman. Pretty, she's pretty amazing. Now, two things about her record are questionable, but hey, I don't know. You know, I'm not sitting in her seats and I don't have to make decisions that she has to make, right? And they can be very, very difficult for most of us, okay? With or without education, it could be very difficult, okay? So we shouldn't be too quick to judge, but let's just see what happens. That's all right? Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe again. Leave comments anytime. Nice comments if you can. Most of the time, I ignore comments at this point. But if you have something really like you can contribute, I'm more than happy. If you want to come on the show, just contact me. I have a contact form, coffeechat. Coffeechat. .com. Sorry, I was about to say like at. Okay, coffeechat.com. There's a contact form. Just send it to me, okay? And then if you'd like to be a guest, because I'm always looking for guests to come on the show. Excuse me. I really like Alan. I think it's Leichman or Leichman. I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name, but I want to do a shout out to Alan Leichman because I like to hear your take as a historian on the politics side of things, right? Because I've done 2 episodes now, 2 or 3, on our new politics because these are all historical events happening, right? But later I'm gonna get into, is the black and brown community being crushed, right? So this is a question that I'm hearing a lot of that in when I listen to different podcasts, like most of the number one podcasts that the FBA communities are on, they have genuine concerns, and I like to listen to those, right? And then what I'm gonna do is listen to the concerns of white Americans, and then listen to any concerns I can find on Hispanic and Asians. Okay, those two groups who are very, very much pushed aside from political commentary, if you've noticed. I've noticed that. Okay, I don't really know where they stand. And it might be because a lot of them, are more involved in their own countries, but we don't know. We don't know. And I'd like to bring that to you guys. Okay. So anyway, thank you again for listening to Coffee Chat with Camille. Please subscribe and like. Cash App is up. It's $ Camille. Everything I'm using as it pertains to images and also to commentary that it's under fair use. Okay, fair use, fair use, fair use. All right, and some of the statements I made are alleged. And I think I covered everything. Thank you again. Bye for now, everyone. Have a great, great week, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.